Hi, I'm Stephanie Wanchala, and welcome to Alaska Filmmakers, the series highlighting the talented individuals working in Alaska's film community. Princess Lucaj is a resident of Fairbanks who has worked as both writer and director on several productions both in Alaska and California. Princess recently joined with a large group of local actors to work on The Frozen Ground as well as Big Miracle. We now join AKF host DK Johnston in Fairbanks to talk more with Princess on her experience in the acting community.
Okay, well, Princess, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate having you. So, first things first, how did you get started working in the film industry?
Well, I think that on the acting side of things, I was really shy when I was younger, but I found that when I got involved with theater and acting, that I got to portray this other person and be this other person on stage. And I've always really enjoyed just entertaining people or making people laugh. So I think that's initially kind of what got me into things, not to mention the fact that both my mother and my father are really storytellers in their own right. So I think just, you know, that the storytelling was kind of ingrained in me, and I just wanted to be a part of that process. And then once I got older, I started becoming more involved, or wanting to become more involved with film, because I saw what a powerful medium it was. But as a Native person, I also grew up with a lack of seeing our people accurately portrayed. There weren't, you know, many people that I could look up to that were portrayed accurately in television and film. So I think that kind of spurred me into filmmaking as well.
So you've been acting for a little while. What's the earliest acting gig you can remember?
Well, the first thing that really kind of sticks out was I played Alice. Which I think there's a lot of irony there, and it was really funny because I was in 6th grade, and I was taller than most everyone else in my class. Of course, I never grew past that, you know, 6th grade year, I think. But I remember feeling big and awkward on stage, and I think that was a lot of that character. But I also remember she had to sing that song, that, you know, that "Who Am I" song. And I think that was a little bit like telling for me, just in terms of what I've ended up doing in my life.
So when you decided to move from Alaska to Los Angeles, like, was that how was that? Was that kind of a little bit of a culture shock for you?
Well, I actually spent the first 7 years of my life in Los Angeles. And so it wasn't too much of a culture shock, but my road to LA really was about I apologize because I'm going to skip around here for a second. But once I graduated from college, I didn't major in film or acting or television. I majored in international relations. But once I hit my senior year, that's when I wanted to get back into theater and filmmaking. And I ended up moving back to Alaska, and I took a screenwriting course with Leonard Kammerling here at the University of Alaska. And that, I was so inspired, and he was so passionate about teaching the class that I ended up submitting to the Sundance Filmmakers workshop. And there's a writer's lab and a director's lab. And actually the very first thing I submitted to, they had, for the very first year, a Native screenwriter's lab, and based on the work I did with Leonard in his class, I submitted and I got accepted. And that really inspired me to go to the next step, which was to get into the January Screenwriters Lab at Sundance. And so I kind of pushed full throttle, and I also got accepted into that. And that was just kind of like this you know, snowball effect then of me going full force. I'm going to be a filmmaker, and I want to get into the industry, and I have the option mostly of going to New York or Los Angeles. and LA is where I ended up finding my home.
What kind of productions did you get to work on down there?
I did a lot of stuff in Los Angeles, but I got to work on, big budget stuff as, an actor, but I also got to work as a PA. Once I decided to get into filmmaking, because I didn't go to film school, I was just gung-ho about learning and just soaking up as much as I could about the industry. And I wanted to, know what it felt like to be, behind the scenes, in front of the camera. So any way that I could work, I did what I could to be on sets and expose myself to that. And I'd have to say that, it's really, you kind of have to have that mentality that, oh, you can't really just say, I'm just going to direct, because, and I just think you gain so much if you do a variety of things on set. And maybe that, you figure out that, oh, wow, I actually really love being a camera assistant, or I really love producing. So I think that being open to any position is just better, for you in general.
So in terms of your acting, I guess it really kind of applies to your writing as well. Is there any kind of specific roles you like to portray?
In my acting experience, I feel like a lot of times and many Native actors kind of get pigeonholed into playing the Native girl or the Native woman, And so I think for me, anything that kind of broke the boundaries of that, that wasn't so stereotypical, are the roles that I, would like to play more or gravitate towards more. And a lot of, my friends that are actors, it's the same thing. I think that they like to be challenged a little bit more, and they don't always want to be wearing buckskin on a horse, It's like that gets kind of old. In the scripts that I've written, sometimes it's a combination. A lot of times I feel like I do better writing what I know. However, I have adapted one book, and I've done a screenplay that was more of a pilot, for a television series. And my approach, kind of, it varies, but it always kind of boils down to, I think for me, trying to find the heart of it and write from my heart for all the characters. And certainly anyone that's doing screenwriting, I think it's a benefit to even take an acting class, because it's nice to put yourself into that position of like, okay, I'm an actor delivering this dialogue. Does it work? And so I just, I think it's good to, like I said before, you want to like kind of test the waters of everything. I think if you're going to get into filmmaking, it just serves you better.
Some early actors, just getting into it, like to try to kind of find their niche or their method into getting into certain characters. Do you have any specific way you like to do it? I was never necessarily trained in a certain method. I'm not a method actor, or Stanislavski. Like I had an array of teachers that I went to when I was in Los Angeles. And I think eventually you just kind of find your own, groove with things. But I just try to bring the truth out as much as I can, when I portray a character. And, unfortunately, I can't say in my career that I've had like some amazing, character that I feel like, I've really been able to bring something solid, to fruition. And maybe, one day that will happen. But for now, I just, whatever part I'm playing, whether it's a smaller part or a large part, I just always try to bring the truth out for that character in the moment that they are portraying. Now, I also understand you're part of the Screen Actors Guild as well. So when did you decide to join SAG?
Well, I guess, part of, my really getting into acting when I was in Los Angeles was, once again, I didn't go to Los Angeles to become an actor. I just wanted to be a filmmaker. And I found that, like I mentioned earlier, one of the ways of me getting to be on set was getting cast as an actor. And so those things kind of, I don't want to say they fell into my lap, but it was just, to me, again, like it was just another way to get on set. And I ended up getting cast in a pilot called Jericho that was on CBS. And once that happened, I believe that was the time that I got Taft-Hartley'd into the union. So some people, they do extra work and they get these vouchers, and once you have so many vouchers, you can get into the union. But I got cast in a speaking role, and so then I got Taft-Hartley'd, and it was a no-brainer for me to join the union at that time.
Now, as an actor, can you talk about maybe a little, some of the benefits to joining the Screen Actors Guild?
I think it's really a matter of what you want to do with your career. I think it's a matter of, did you just do the movie for this one part and you're not really so invested in acting? There might not be, any need to join the union. But if you think that you'd like to continue to go down this route as an actor, for me, it's just a, you feel protected. It's like, it does lend credibility to your name. I feel, when I work on maybe, and this has happened, like working on an independent film where, maybe I notice, wait a second, they didn't give me a per diem, for this day, or they didn't, I can go to the producers and, talk to them about that and say, wait, well, as a Screen Actors Guild member, I know that I have these rights. And so it's just that extra layer of like, there's a union standing behind me. And when you work really hard at your craft and you get into the union, it's just, how do you say, it's just a matter of being respected for your work and not being taken advantage of. So there's definitely benefits for being in the union.
Now, in SAG, you're also a member of another committee, correct?
Right. So in 2007, the President's National Task Force for the American Indian was formed, and I was asked to be on that committee along with a lot of my my friends, and we've been really active in trying to, of course, up the number of Native actors that are getting work in film and television. But also, trying to just open the minds of the industry and saying, hey, we don't always have to be, portraying these characters of the past. We can be doctors and lawyers, and, we can play the psycho killer, unfortunately. Or fortunately, we can play all these different characters, and we're a modern people, and we don't all look alike. We have there's a wide variety, right, of Native people across this country. And, we come in all shapes and sizes. And so there's actually, and I'll write down the link, but we recently did a PSA that talks about, that interviews a number of Native actors and kind of talks about these issues. That I'd love to share with you and, have people be able to view. And for instance, also, one of the things with sitting on this committee with Everybody Loves Whales, we put together a nice letter basically thanking the production on, going the extra mile to cast, Native people in these roles. So I think that we're seeing some results from the work of the committee, which is fantastic. And I think that in Alaska right now, I think that we're going to see more and more, Native people getting into acting and possibly the union. So I think it's just an exciting time. I'm very happy that I moved back up here when I did.
Now, what motivated you to come back to Alaska after spending a stint in Los Angeles?
I think that it was a variety of things, but for 10 years I was basically homesick. And I have a large family. I have lots of nieces and nephews. The time that I came back, my grandmother wasn't in the best of health. And what ended up happening is I had a nice segue because I had a call from a longtime friend of mine, Allison Warden, and she asked me would I be interested in directing a play in Anchorage at Cyrano's that she had co-written called Time Immemorial.
that she co-wrote with Jack Dalton, and I immediately jumped on it. I was like, yes, that's like a great way, great homecoming. So I got to, jump into work right away. And since then, I've just been really, delighted really with, having, work up here. I had a small role on Everybody Loves Wales, which hopefully they didn't cut. And I've been able to work with, Maya Salganic up here. My brother Odin, Peter Raboff, and I taught a short filmmaking course to the Raw High students, not this summer, but the summer before that. And I've been able, I just feel like I've been able to keep creatively busy, which I was worried about initially, and now it seems like with more productions, I'm hoping to be able to have more work in addition to whatever work I have on my slate that I would like to create.
Let's talk about a little bit more about your directing as well. When did you first get the chance to sit in that chair?
The first time I really got to do some directing was when I went to Sundance through the Director's Lab. And that program, you bring actors out to Utah, and you get to shoot, I believe I shot 4 or 5 scenes from a screenplay that I had written. And that was really, and I really call it my film school. That was really the first time I really got to do some directing. And since then, I've, been able, I have a short film that I've done and that I directed. And then I also have been doing some stage directing up here.
Now, for someone who's both worked in front and behind the camera, do you think it's really a good idea for some directors to actually every now and then take a step in front of the camera?
Yes. Because you need to know how to speak to an actor, and you need to have, I think, a certain sensitivity. I mean, in general, I think that if you're going to direct, that you kind of want to be a sensitive, it doesn't hurt to be a sensitive person, but to be able to speak the same language, so to speak, as an actor.
With the recent incentive and the possibility of the extension, where do you see the future of Alaska's film industry going?
Well, I just have to say that I think that just for the amount of increased productions that we've seen up here in general, that we see individuals that are like, hey, I want to get more training so that I can get hired on these larger productions. And I'm not certain of the numbers, what it was with Everybody Loves Wales, but I mean, it would be fantastic if they even had to bring less crew from the States. That we had people here that were trained up and ready to take, those positions. So I'm hoping that we're going to see more and more productions up here, and that we're going to start, training actors, directors, like everyone, like across the board. So I just think it's just super exciting, and I think that it's pushing people, it's giving people incentive to really kind of study up on their craft and be ready for the opportunities that come up here.
Just one last question. Is there any advice you'd have to some of our young and aspiring filmmakers?
Don't wait for anyone to give you a job. Just go out there and do it. Whatever it is that you want to do. I mean, now with the way technology is and editing, there's so much I think that, young filmmakers can do, and I really should take my own advice on that, because I think oftentimes I get stuck and I'm just like, I need a budget for this. But the truth of the matter is, there are people that are willing, other young filmmakers that are willing to donate their time and energy to projects. And I just say, and it's the same thing with acting. Like if I had waited for certain, roles or parts, then I don't think I would have worked as much as I have just creating. Sometimes you just have to create the opportunity, for yourself. And the best way to do that is to be active and to just make things. You got to start from somewhere. And I think a lot of independent filmmakers, like that's the way it is, because you can wait an eternity if you're like, I need the $1 million budget to make my first film. As opposed to just starting off really short. I'm gonna make a short, a 5-minute short, and on nothing. on my iPhone or whatever, you know? So I just think that you just have to just go out there and just do it.
Okay, is there anything you'd like to add before we go?
Again, like I just want to reiterate that I'm just, you know, I'm excited to see all these people working in film and just having the incentive now with all these, you know, extra opportunities. And I'm really excited to see where things go from here. So, yeah.
That's all the time we have today on Alaska Filmmakers. To learn more about Princess and her work, visit our website at alaskafilmmakers.com. Special thanks to Princess and the University of Alaska Fairbanks for their hospitality, and thanks to our supporters and sponsors for making another season of AKF possible. Join us next week as we discuss filming in Alaska's backyard with Alaska HDTV producer Scott Sloan. Until then, remember, everyone has a story to tell.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.